Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Globetrotter Newscast for today. 1st of March. Wow, has this year really gone quick? Have you asked
Yes.
me? We're in March now. I'm joined by supporter Zach Chambers. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Now, Zach, I want to start with the Brazilian variant of coronavirus. Now, there's been 6 cases of it in the UK, 3 in England, 3 in Scotland. This very similar to South Africa strain. This one is this new strain from Manaus. Do
Yeah.
you reckon vaccines will still be effective against it?
Yes, Charlie. This poxy, Brazilian variant that's come here. Unfortunately, it's made its way in. So I've just read that it's obviously 6 cases. I've read it's 3 in Scotland and 3 in South Gloucestershire. I understand from where I've read it. And there's certain surge testing that's coming there in the certain affected areas where, there's been a detected case, and I think there's one on the loose as well, I believe, where one has been completely unidentified based on their travel information, so they're having to hunt that person out. So yeah, Charlie, it's not great. In terms of the vaccine, Charlie, I think it'll probably. I think from what I've read about this, Charlie, is that it may well affect the vaccine, but it probably won't affect it in a major way. I mean, the South African one is affecting the vaccine there, but I think it will probably be affected enough. It probably won't be as affected as, say, the UK variant, for example, Charlie, or the normal strain that we currently have. I think it will be affected. It just won't be as effective as it previously was. But obviously, we've got to get that surge testing done now in those areas in South Gloucestershire. I think it's Bristol, near Bristol, actually, where I understand it. Somewhere around there, that area. So that's got to be done there. We obviously just need to keep going with the surge testing, Charlie. I think this is obviously going to be regular occurrence now. Wherever you see a variant pop up, you're going to see surge testing, and everyone being asked to take a test at their households, and drop it off at the site where it's needed to be.
Zach, I know this is a bit concerning, but I'm going to reassure the public that the Prime Minister was on today in a school, and he actually said that the vaccines do offer protection against all variants. He's very confident, is Boris Johnson, that is the case. So there will be more mutations to come in the next 6 months, and certainly throughout the rest of our lives with COVID. It's not going to go away anytime soon. And Zach, on the subject of the vaccine, I know you've been vaccinated as well, which is great to hear. 20 million now that the government have actually done. It's a fantastic figure, isn't it?
Yes, 20 million. And one of those people includes me now. Yes. I have to say, Charlie, it was a great experience to get the vaccine on Friday. It really was great. To be part of one of those 20 million. It was great. I mean, I did have some side effects the next day, which was expected, but it wasn't that bad. It was just a couple of shakes, and that's okay. I didn't have a great night's sleep the next day, but oh well. I think at the end of the day, Charlie, what I did get was the vaccine. So I'm building protection now, Charlie. Let's just say that I'm building protection, and I feel good. Apart from maybe the slightly stiff arm, but I feel great. And I got the Oxford one, just in case you're wondering, I got the Oxford one. So yeah, but yes, 20 million is a great milestone, and we're doing so much. I think we're doing so much better than some of the countries in Europe, Charlie, where they have had a really awful time where they have handled their virus. No, you can't question that. But the vaccine rollout's gone out so well here that even the Conservatives are getting the boost in the polls. Some polls suggesting 7.8 point leads, which for the Conservatives, which have been their high since July last year. So it's clear that the public are having a positive effect on this, Charlie. And you can't, to me, you can't question. You got to give credit when credit's due. They're doing well. There was a slightly lower capacity today, from what I read, Charlie. I think it was 190, just over 200,000 administrated today, which was slightly lower than the previous day. But I read the other day we managed to get over 500,000, which is brilliant, I have to say.
Yeah.
So from what Nadine Sahari has said on the airwaves this morning, in the last few days, is that we are going to have a massive uptick in the amount of vaccinations that are going to be done and getting to people's arms. So that's good. And if he said about double the rate, I think he said on,
he mentioned
on the
something
morning
along the lines
broadcast
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he mentioned something like that, Charlie, which is a doubling where we are, which is, oh my goodness, I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, if we're averaging about 300,000, 400,000, we're going to get something like 600, 800, 600, 800,000 a day at this rate, if we're going to be doubling, which is great. We're obviously, yesterday was obviously looking at the vaccine figures that came in. It looks like yesterday was a low supply day. Not exactly ideal, but there you go. That you're going to have one of those days, Charlie. I know that for certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to pop up.
As long as
I don't think we should be too panicked by the figures. I don't think, Charlie, looking at it, because I think they're doing really well so far. I think the off day off or so is not going to really harm. Yeah.
No, I think, Zach, as well, you have to admit that the rollout over here is going really well, unlike what's happening in the EU, where there's been problems. France and Germany. Oh, I mean, what's going on with Macron and Merkel over the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine? One of them apparently said they wouldn't take it. Like, this is a crazy story. And they're really struggling. Germany was even considering another lockdown as well, because they're just struggling to contain outbreaks.
I don't normally mind not like some Merkel, but he honestly, egg over face on that one. They've really badly misjudged it. I think they've had a bit of a, I think they've had a hissy fit from the EU contract with AstraZeneca that caused a whole lot of problems. And since that went terribly wrong for them and they ended up a complete public kerfuffle over it. They've spread they spread something which even Piers Corbyn would be proud of, honestly. By the way, Piers Corbyn got arrested again over the weekend for another anti-lockdown protest. And he's running for mayor of London, apparently. So that's going to be a track record like his is going to be go down well. He's obviously not going to get in. So I'll reassure you there. But Macron, Merkel, not exactly come at the greatest comments about the vaccine in the last few weeks. I just think they're a little bit jealous of the fact that Britain is actually doing well out of this process. I don't think it's got nothing to do with Brexit Britain, by the way. They could have done this, even if Britain was still in the EU by then, we could have done this, could have done our own path if we ever wanted to. But yeah, it was just, we took our own path. It actually worked. And the others are squinting at how well we have really done in this process, Charlie, I think.
I know. I mean, France is struggling. They've had loads of cases over there in France. They've been talking about local lockdowns, Dunkirk. There's been apparently massive outbreak in Dunkirk, which is essentially where the border is, like where the English Channel is. It's basically where you go over to Dover where the migrants are. And there was concerns about the number of migrants coming to this country, potentially carrying the virus.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I was going to come on to that, Charlie, because Nigel Farage posted something very interesting that was dismissed by the Home Office. That there was 12 migrants that coming across illegally into our shore, something, and he claimed that they all tested positive for COVID. Well, the Home Office obviously tested them because they completely denied it. It said these lot never had COVID. Now, obviously, there's some sort of migrant camp in Dunkirk somewhere where there's been some sort of outbreak. And so obviously there's some people that got positive there. Not these 12, but yet Nigel Farage obviously feels like he has to post it out all over the world that he thinks these lot are coming illegally and have COVID. A rather hilariously embarrassing moment for the Reform UK leader or former Brexit Party leader in the European Parliament. Not exactly sending his usual people to rest easy. Yeah,
I know. I mean, he was reporting on that a lot last year, Zach, wasn't he? During the first lockdown, it got all over the news, migrants coming into this country. I mean, it was absolutely. I'm not going to go into Farage what he done but it was all over LBC last year, and it was certainly all over the news. And he's, of course, slammed the BBC for lack of reporting in the media, BBC, Sky News, for reporting this.
Of course. Yeah, of course he was slamming the BBC because he's part of the defund the BBC crowd. Obviously, Farage. I'm waiting to see what news channel he's obviously interested in. I know there's GB News at launch later this year, but I wonder if you're ever interested in that. A lot of his friends.
Dan Wooten.
Yes, a lot of Farage's friends have actually signed on to that job, Charlie, because two former Brexit Party candidates have actually got presenting roles on that channel. Actually, you may remember Michelle Dewberry, who used to present who used to be a contestant, The Apprentice, actually hosting a show in prime time there. And so is I think this will be a hard name to pronounce, but there's a member of the Free Speech Union that is joining as well. She's and she used to actually be a Brexit Party candidate for the elections at the for Leeds. I hopefully, if I can find it on here. Here we are. It's Inya Folran Inman, who's going to be joining the team, who's also used to be a Brexit Party candidate, and she's one of the key members of, who is a champion of so-called free speech. I mean, you can have a big debate about that, but I'm sure Farage is actually going to be gauging time to watch with that, as long as he doesn't start bashing that. Obviously as well. It's
going to be interesting. I think GB News will certainly be interesting, launching later this year. Dan Wooten from used to be on Talk Radio will be one of the anchors on that station. So I'm sure we'll keep you entertained with some of Farage's friends on GB News. I'm sure the whole of the UK will be tuning in to watch that station later in the year. But the COVID-19 pandemic is certainly going to be an interesting one that will be discussed, Zach. And I want to move on to testing now, because this has been in the news a lot. A week before schools in England are due to go back, government campaigning saying schools are safe. And we have got a testing program coming on for schools. And Zach, what is your message to people getting tested at the moment? Do you think asymptomatic testing should be extended?
Well, yes, obviously, Charlie. I think I understand the plans for school now. So as I understand it, I've definitely double-checked over. And it appears to me, Charlie, that it's going to be your first test when you come back is going to be done at school. And then for 2 times a week, you're going to get a home testing kit. That's how as I understand it. So there's obviously going to be some sort of asymptomatic testing done in that department. I'm sure you'll probably, talk about it soon enough, Charlie, when you return and you probably get to enjoy the experience of, or enjoy or not enjoy the experience of having to do 2 tests a week, potentially with just a swab stuck up your nose and all that. Not exactly enjoyable. I know you have to do that. I'm afraid that's part of the testing thing. You have to put a swab at your nose, a swab at down your mouth. I know it's not exactly pleasant, but so there is going to be some. This is obviously going to be lateral flow testing that's going to be used for schools and for students, parents, and students of school, of those who attend school. Obviously, you're going to get twice a week. So there's obviously going to be an element of asymptomatic testing, because this is obviously just done so that the fact that if one person tests positive in the bubble, then the other lot don't have to go home. Like somebody,
that's what it is. Charlie. That's what they're trying to do, that to stop self-isolation, shutting the bubble down.
Yeah, exactly. And some schools, obviously, we're going back. They're obviously going back 8th of March next week, which is first part of stage 1 of the reopening. But to be fairness, Charlie, some schools may decide to start a little bit later in the week just to flexibly, so they can set up the testing program, which is only going to be used once there. And obviously, because they need to set up for all the students when they first return to school. So this is a big operation, Charlie. This is the problem. That's why, because it's a big operation. It's got a lot of resources that need to be done in this, and this does take a bit of a while to set up. I see you're actually going back. I think as far as you're going back exactly on the 8th of March. From what I've seen, and
I was just going to voice a concern, Zach, because Nick Gibb, the schools minister, spoke the other day, and he said it was only voluntary to have a COVID test in a school. This is exactly we saw the news from a Conservative minister saying that it's actually voluntary to have a test.
This is the problem, Charlie. This is the problem. It's voluntary, which means you don't have to take a test, but you're recommended that you do follow these guidances. Now, that's a kind of problem because you could have any old student that could be asymptomatic in COVID that could have an infection or could be asymptomatic but could refuse a test. Now, there's obviously going to be times where someone could be symptomatic and basically display symptoms, and they can't refuse a test. So this is going to be a little bit of a problem if you're refusing a test when you could have the virus on you. I think it's necessary that people do take tests, whether they like it or not. I know it's not pleasant, but I think these guidelines are in place to actually stop the spread of this virus going through, colleges, schools, secondary schools. And obviously, there's now measures in place like face masks in the classroom to actually stop this from spreading. Because, as you know, a face mask could be up to 90% effective, depending on what face mask you actually wear. But clearly, government are trying to go all in and trying not to infect the schools that much and didn't stop disruptive learning. Now, obviously, this week, Charlie, we found out this week how the exam systems were going to work for the summer, where we're not going to have, actually exams are going to be cancelled, but how the results are going to work, where it's going to be back to teacher assessed grades again, just like last summer. Well, we eventually got to that was eventually the case after an outroar and how total muck up that was. So we're going back to the simple way of just teacher assessments, no algorithms, which cause an absolute chaos in the exam system. So it should be an easier time for teachers to grade their students this summer as well.
Yeah, it is. And I think as well, I just want to play a video whilst we're here from Councillor Gavin Callaghan, who is a member and the leader of the Basildon Council. And this video is going to be about COVID-19 lateral flow testing. Have a listen to what he has to say about COVID-19 testing.
Very interested.
I'm leader of Basildon Council. I've just come out of the Towngates Theatre. I've just had one of the having to go to work, having to be in your place of work, you should be having one of these tests at least once a week. And if you are somebody in the borough right now who perhaps you've not had a test before, but you've been out percent capacity at the moment, so we've got lots of tests in the borough. So if you are watching this, please go online, book your test, go down and see whether or not you're one of those people in our borough who is carrying the virus but not displaying any symptoms. It's so important we get people tested and we increase the amount of testing. So please go and get a test and we can hopefully get on top of this virus and regain control of it. Thanks everyone, be safe.
Thank you to Councillor Gavin Callaghan there for that announcement.
Yeah.
Zach, what did you make of his message to Basildon Borough residents?
Oh, that's quite sensible, actually. That's the message that you need to get out there. Obviously, Gavin Callaghan is obviously up for re-election in May this, I believe.
Yeah.
So just what I've read. So obviously, it's important to get that message out there. Obviously, that's nothing political. It's very simple. We get tested, and obviously saw that. I agree. Obviously, that people do need to go and get tested if they need to be tested. And you never know, Charlie. I hope not, but if we ever get a surge, if we ever find out a variant from like South Africa or Brazil come here, then it's even more
the surge
important.
testing is so important, I think, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's the surge testing is, this is with the Brazilian variant exactly that the news was spotting the other day. I don't think it will affect the lockdown, but there will be more like surge testing that will be going on. Government can take measures at more like sort of targeted areas, like local areas, regional areas. So it's going to be very interesting. Please, guys, as the Parents leader Gavin Callaghan said, I think we are going to have to get tested quite regularly. What about those, Zach, who can't work from home? Should they be tested?
Yeah, obviously, I think for those who are working at home, what they should do is, obviously, I think it's fairly simple what they should do, Charlie. I think, try and order like a home testing kit. If obviously if one's there. I mean, I think obviously the capacity's increased now, Charlie. So they should, be able to order a home testing kit if they can't. Obviously, if they need to work from home, if they can't work outside, then get a home test kit. If they obviously, if obviously if you can't work from home, then you probably would. I think in the future they're offering the lateral flow test to these businesses, so they should be able to get one soon, hopefully. On those businesses, obviously, if you can't work from home, if you can work from home, you obviously get a home test. If not, then I think hopefully in the future, I believe a lateral flow test is going to be offered.
Yeah,
you could go to one of the driving sites.
Yeah. I think, Zach, as well,
Yeah.
I just read up yesterday that there's going to be rapid tests are going to be offered to families of school pupils, if I'm believed to be correct. Is that
that's
is that a good move by the government?
Yeah, that's the key infrastructure, Charlie. That's correct. That's good, because that's the key infrastructure, Charlie, which is why this school testing is in gear. This is the key infrastructure, basically, to testing at schools and to testing school kids at home. It's very important, Charlie. Very important. Obviously, I recommend anybody. Obviously, it's just so important that everybody takes it. That sort of thing, Charlie. I think.
Yeah, it really, really is important. Take a test regularly if you cannot work from home. I have a very important message for people. As Gavin Callaghan mentioned, we need to start cracking down on asymptomatic carriers of this disease. Hence, because asymptomatic carriers can spread this disease no matter where you are. There was actually an NHS nurse from Basildon who encouraged people to get tested regularly, saying that she got the virus without any symptoms. So it can affect people very, very differently. So that is the news there from testing. But we're going to move on, Zach, now to CPAC.
Yes.
Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, made his first public appearance since leaving the White House. And Zach, this Republican Party convention in Orlando, Florida, was very explosive over the weekend, wasn't it?
Yes, this was the CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, also known as CPAC, or if you want to really know what people really think of it, they called it TPAC, which is Trump Political Action Conference, if that's people nickname it, or if you're even extreme, QPAC, which is a reference to QAnon, and QPAC, which is just taking the P out, QAnon and all that. Political conspiracy theories. But we saw the grand old return of the loser of the last election, or so he doesn't think that is the case. Donald Trump made I don't think there was nothing new in his speech, Charlie. Let's just say that it was very himself. He obviously slagged off Joe Biden on immigration, on schools. He repeated the big lie that he that he won the election, which, as we know, he didn't, because obviously, why is Joe Biden in office? He used his usual thing to claim conspiracy theories, voter fraud, all that nonsense, which, as we know, is
and the wall.
No, and the wall. Yes, the Great Wall. It was, it was at the end of the day, if you're a fact checker, then you'll probably be working overload on this, that speech. But let me tell you what it proves, Charlie. Let me tell you what his speech proves, is that the Republican Party is still the party of Trump. No doubt about it. I mean, if you saw this is a very biased straw poll, I know that. But if you look at the straw poll saying who want the Republican nominee to be in 2024, you had 55% Trump. And then you had and then a significant amount for then the Florida governor Ron DeSantis in second place. And there was also a poll as well, I think, Charlie, down there saying if Trump wasn't on the ballot, who would you pick? And the most of it went to Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor. Now, will that happen? Do you think? I don't know.
It'd be a good choice, actually, Ron DeSantis. I have to say.
I beg to differ on that one, Charlie. I beg to differ. I'm afraid. I think the problem is the Republicans are having a bit of an identity politics crisis, because there'll be those like Mitt Romney, the Pat Toomeys, the Lisa Murkowskis, the Susan Collins, who want to go a bit more moderate, who want conservative principles but go a bit more moderate. And then you have the Trump, who will remain a tight grip on his party, you see, Charlie. And he's starting to come out with endorsements for 2022. So he's going to have a real oversee of the party. Let's just say that. He's going to keep his lead tight. And Trump was hinting about running it 2024. Nothing confirmed, but it's obvious. He made it obvious what his plan was. He teased that little pathway. So yeah, the CPAC was a conference which is full of conspiracy theories, full of a bunch of liars. I have to say, I'm quite glad. I know Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, wasn't one of the main speakers, thankfully.
Mike Pompeo was there, and I think
Mike Pompeo
Ron DeSantis was there.
Yes.
Yeah, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was there. I think Nikki Fox, one of the other women, she was there as well. And a lot of people ripping up Joe Biden, and one of them even criticised Anthony Fauci as well about vaccines.
Oh yes, So that was the South Dakota governor, I think Christian Noem, who criticised states that used lockdown. They claiming that lockdowns didn't work. She did actually turn up on Face the Nation on CBS on Sunday, and she didn't get an easy ride at all. Dr. Fauci was quite obviously heard what was said and was, not exactly best pleased. But I think that's what you get from an experienced doctor, really, who probably knows a bit more than what Christian Noem does, I think. But anyway, the CPAC was certainly your typical conservative conspiracy press conference. We had the usual lot that lied about elections, lied about, even downplayed the insurrection. Some people blame it on Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the usual racist nonsense. We know it was all Trump supporters. But yeah, if you're a fact checker person, then I don't think you'll have an easy time trying to watch CPAC at all. But yes, it was dominated by, I think, a 90-minute speech by Trump, full of his usual greatest hits and grievances.
Zach, I've just had some figures through from the UK government on coronavirus. Piers Morgan's just tweeted 5,455 new cases, 104 new deaths reported in the last 24 hours. And that's on a weekend. Piers Morgan said lowest since September, with vaccination rollout surging past 20 million doses administered. This is all very encouraging news. That's what he tweeted earlier. Is it?
Yes.
Looking at the UK figures?
I think, Charlie, I know this is a weekend lag. This will be Sunday's figures. So there is a lag, obviously, in weekends, because then there's less administration going on there. But very encouraging. At 104 deaths, it's the lowest we've seen in quite a while. That's very good. Some people will say, well, the case numbers are a bit high, but it's a lot lower than before. That's encouraging, Charlie. That's very encouraging. And this is working now. This is working. Vaccinations are working. Lockdown, I think, has worked as well. Charlie, we're at that stage where we can open up, just slowly but steadily. I'm
a bit concerned about schools going back. I feel that could cause a few alarm bells. But I think really the testing will potentially mitigate some of those issues.
Yeah. I know the teacher unions are a bit, bit worried about everyone going back at once. I know some of the Labour left are voicing a little bit of concern about it. But at the end of the day, Charlie, it looks like everyone's going back in education again, which is great. I'm pleased to hear that. Definitely. I'm pleased that everyone's going to go back. Get their education again properly. But yeah, I this is it. We're at the stage where we're going towards indefinite change in terms of how we're restricted on our lives. And next week we'll take it. The UK's taking its first step, or well, certainly England. Let's just say, we're talking about England terms.
Yeah,
they're taking their first step.
They definitely are, Zach.
Yeah.
First step to freedom, as people call it.
Yeah.
Schools reopening next week on the 8th of March. All education back. Also in step 1, you can meet outside with someone outside your household. One person for recreational outdoors, including having a coffee in the park, a picnic in the park. And also care homes can have one nominated visitor as well. But you must test negative for COVID-19 before entering the premises as well, just to let you know. And you need to wear full PPE if you're going to a care home. It's essential to slow the spread of coronavirus. But Zach, moving on from COVID now to motorsport, Formula E we're going to be speaking about now. First 2 races of the season in Diriyah. And an eventful weekend on Sunday with 2 huge accidents. I just want to say to Eduardo Mortar and Alex Lynn, they are both okay. What did you make of the weekend, Zach?
Well, I have to say, first of all, Charlie, I was glad to see Formula E back because I've been missing it, and I wanted to see what was going on there. I have to say, I enjoyed the first 2 races. Great to see Sam Bird winning the second race. Obviously, this was a double header. There were 2 races. Sam Bird winning the first race, and I have to say,
Nick de Vries won the first race.
Nick de Vries won the first race. Now, let me explain it. Nick de Vries won the first race, but it wasn't in the greatest weekend for him in terms of race 2, unfortunately. It started just before qualifying, Charlie, and we got to practice, and Eduardo Montana crashed his car in a really bizarre failure, I have to say, Charlie. So they did obviously their warm-ups after the session had finished, and Eduardo Montana didn't brake. His car continued on, and it was extraordinary to watch. And he went straight for the barriers. And it was surprising how it was a failure. So what the FIA did was that they didn't allow any of the cars that had a Mercedes engine in the back of it out for qualifying, which meant that Nick de Vries, Eduardo Montana actually didn't start the race, I don't believe, race 2. So they sent the Mercedes. They didn't send the Mercedes out. They banned them from going out, and they started from the rear. And race 2 was good, and then we had that really wild crash that ended the race for Alex Lynn. I mean, I saw the footage the other day, and I thought it was extraordinary. It reminded me a bit. It reminded me a bit of Mark Webber in Valencia in 2010 when he had that when he went to the rear and he backflipped the car. I mean, it was extraordinary. I mean, I'm glad he's out of the hospital because I think it just proves how, once again, Charlie, how the halo worked on those cars. It was because he rolled over and he landed, the car landed completely upside down. And the thing that was rotating the car and stopping it from hitting the driver's head was that halo, because otherwise that Alex Lynn's head would be helmet would be rubbing on the floor, rubbing on the hard surface, and that could have been even worse for him. So I was pleased to see him, come out alive of that.
And Zach as well, he actually hit, I think, the back of Sebastian Buemi, I think.
Yeah.
Or Mitch Evans. It was one of the drivers. Mitch Evans actually rushed to help him. But, I mean, wow. It was a horrendous crash for Alex Lynn, especially the second weekend. I mean, Alex Lynn going off. Race 1, he had a bit of a handful with Sam Bird. Both of them collided. Lynn got a 3-place grid penalty. And then to have that massive crash. I mean, no, that second crash for Lynn was horrible. It was a horrible crash. I'm really glad to see Lynn walked out of that with pretty minor injuries. I mean, he sounds like he's okay. And then he's back. He's going to be back racing in, I think, Rome is they're heading next, I think.
Yeah, so, April. Yes, April. Not the race. Next race is not until April, Charlie. So another couple months waiting. But
for Rome, Rome Prix, that will be. And I think as well that Nick de Vries leads the championship. It's going to be interesting how Mercedes are going to go on because they started off really well in race 1. De Vries looked like he dominated race 1. Do you could see Mercedes potentially being champions this year in Formula E?
It will be interesting to see, Charlie. I mean, DS Cheat had an off weekend, and I noticed that because they were, they have a power unit upgrade that's coming in there in Rome, but they were using their old power unit, and everyone else updated their power unit for this season. Now, for those the power unit rules are the engines have to last 2 seasons, and obviously the DS Cheetah made a strategic decision to delay their new power units until Rome, and I think they were a little bit off the pace this weekend, Charlie. And they also got into the wars a little bit. I mean, did Felix Costa, John Verme decided to clash on the track again at times. We saw a little bit of collision on race 2 from what I saw. Teammates getting in the wars again, unfortunately. So they had a bit of an off weekend. I wonder what will they be like, though. I think it might pick up the pace when they have that upgraded power unit coming in for race 2, I think, Charlie. So, yeah, I don't rule out DS Cheetah yet. I don't rule them out yet, I think. Because I think they're still in contention, Charlie. We don't know how much races are going to be yet, but I think they're still plenty much in contention.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Nissan had a bit of an off weekend as well. Oliver Rowland did score points in race 2, but Sebastian Buemi didn't have a great weekend, and he's got a lot to live up to, Zach, if he's going to win another Formula E championship, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks competitive so far, Charlie. Look competitive. You can only guess that after 2 races so far. But yeah, I'm really enjoying what we've seen so far. I'm looking forward to Rome because that's a very interesting track to go on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Zach, who would you say impressed you the most like last weekend? If you can, even though you've got some drivers who won the race, who impressed you at the weekend who score the podium? Because there was a few drivers that I actually thought done quite well.
Yeah, there was obviously I'm just going to go back to the results of race 2 because there was one driver I can't remember. Let me get his results up because I think there was one driver that particularly impressed me in race 2. I can't remember. I think
Robin Frine's done quite well actually. He's third in the championship.
Robin Fright had an excellent qualifying, no doubt about it. He did well in race. He lost the victory at the end of the day. But there was, at times I think there was people that certainly needed improvement. I mean, like Jake Dennis, who retired, for example, got crashed out. He didn't do quite as well. I was thinking, let's look at who Sergio Setta did well. I think as well. Sergio Setta did very well. I think as well. I think he did good. Robert Friantz did very well as well. I think the result due to good qualifying. Obviously, we saw Pascal Wehrlein is back again. Yeah. So he managed to get top 10. I think he needs a little bit of an improvement to be fair.
Bandings.
Yeah, absolutely.
The race, just getting the race results up now from the Diriyah, first 2 Diriyah races on the Formula E website. Robin Friens was 2nd, Antonio Felix da Costa 3rd, Sergio Sette Camara 4th, Nico Muller 5th, Oliver Turvey 6th. That's a good weekend for Neo because I didn't expect much from them. I thought they were not going to do that well. Oliver Rowland 7th for Nissan Edam, so he's scored some points for them. Nick de Vries managed to come up from 20th to 9th. Pascal Wehrlein scored a point for Porsche in 10th. I'd say the driver that impressed me the weekend was Robin Friens, actually. He deserves a mention. I'd also say Rene Rast as well. 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
Rene Rast.
Yeah. He comes down as so Rene Rast did well. I think, they came at 17th on here. I don't know whether we got a penalty or not. He might. Yeah,
there was some penalties that were dished out. I think a drive-through penalty was given to a few drivers. I think for violations to the energy usage rule. I think so. A few drivers.
Yeah, and I think John Verme was 3rd, I believe, originally, and then he got penalised, I think, as well, and got put down to 12th.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So
Quite a few drivers got penalised.
yeah, so Antonio Felix da Costa took third at the end of the day rather than Jonik Verne for DS De Cheetah. So yeah, so as I said, Charlie, there's all to play for, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of where we are. So yeah.
Formula One car launches. Mercedes launched their car tomorrow. Aston Martin launched their car Wednesday. Just to keep stay tuned. Obviously, Formula One car launches will be available this week. Excited, Zach, for Aston Martin and Mercedes car launches?
Oh yes. Looks like the Mercedes one's going to have a little bit of a new look on it. I'm very excited to see what Aston Martin's one obviously going to look like, because obviously that's going to be a completely different car. And it looks like we're going to get a lot of green on it from what I've seen based on the team wear, the merchandise. So yes, I'm looking forward to the Aston Martin one particularly on that one, because I think we're going to have a fresh new look and return the Aston Martin name for a long time to really as a team to the grid.
Yeah. Just to let you know, pre-season testing starts a week on Friday, just to confirm that as well.
Yeah.
A week on Friday, we are going to be back in Bahrain doing some pre-season testing. So Formula One will launch all their new cars. And finally, to round up this little motorsport segment, Dixie Vodka 400 weekend was on last weekend. Congratulations to William Byron for claiming his second NASCAR victory in the Dixie Vodka 400. It was interesting. He was like 31st on the grid. And then third-time winner in a NASCAR race this season after Christopher Bell winning the O'Reilly Auto Parts 253 at Daytona, and also Michael McDowell winning the first round at Daytona 500. Wow.
Yeah. William Byron obviously made his way through the field. He won stage 2, I believe, as well. I watched all the way up until stage 2, a bit stage 3, and then I went back to bed again because obviously how late it was in the night it went on for. But yes, Byron was the winner. Made his way up from way down the field as well. It was Truex. Tyler Reddick came second. Good result from him. Very good result. Carl Larson third. And Martin Truex fourth. Behind him. Sorry, Larson coming fourth. Sorry, Truex third, Larson fourth. As well. William Byron making his way up the field as well. Tyler Reddick didn't. To be fair, very good result for him because he didn't score points in the first 2 stages of the race.
No.
And obviously Chris Buescher did well. Obviously in the first 2 stages, but unfortunately he ended up finished 19th at the end of the day, as well. No issues post race inspection. 6 cars were found with unsecured lug nuts, but no major punishments out of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The NASCAR was at Homestead Miami Speedway in Florida at the weekend, just to let you know where that Dixie Vodka 400 took place. Zach, I mean, it was an interesting weekend for a lot of the teams because obviously this event is very famous. Obviously, it was the final event of a NASCAR season between 2002 and 2019. And it's going to be very interesting now because 3 drivers have won the first 3 races. Now they're going to what's called the chase, which is basically where up to 16 drivers can enter this event. Basically, they have what happens with this is that you have 16 drivers. If 16 different drivers win a race, they get in from the main championship because some have got limited schedules. They go into what's called the chase, which is essentially like a playoffs. And basically, and they basically then they basically go to a circuit where they hold the playoff finals, and they basically do different stages and they eliminate different drivers to see who wins the championship. Obviously, if say 16 drivers didn't win a championship, it will be done on points. It's a very interesting way of making motorsport very different, isn't it?
Yes. NASCAR's very unique on it, that Charlie, because obviously you have a 10 race playoff, and obviously if you win a race during the regular season, then you get a place in the playoffs. And obviously William Byron's obviously got a place in the playoff, and so is the other can't remember the other two now. Never mind. Michael McDowell.
Yeah, William Byron,
yeah.
Christopher Bell, and Michael McDowell, I think.
Christopher Dowell. They've already got playoff places, and they need to just finish in the top 30 in the to guarantee that. I'm sure they will do. But yes, they've already got places in the playoffs coming up in September.
Yeah, obviously Michael McDowell missed his braking zone during one of the Daytona races, going straight on at the first corner. So I'm sure Michael McDowell, Daytona 500 winner, will be keeping his eyes peeled up for the playoffs. But the playoffs will be in September. The next race for NASCAR is the GB Blue 400 coming up at Las Vegas Motor Speedway this weekend. That's at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the next round. The GB Blue or Penzilli 400 presented by
Jiffy Lube.
That is the next race for the NASCAR series. And that will be on at the weekend. Las Vegas is where NASCAR heading for their final round. Now, Zach, finally, before we wrap this podcast up, back to here in the UK. It's going to be interesting now. Obviously, the UK, it's nearly a year ago since we had the coronavirus hit this country. And Boris, it's a year this month since the Prime Minister locked us down. What do you make of the year anniversary since on the 23rd of March since England went into lockdown?
Well, there's a lot happened, Charlie. We've had a lot of we've had a lot of heroes come out of this. Let's just say that. We've had a lot of losses, unfortunately, rather sadly. But there's some really interesting things that happened a year ago. If you look at America, for example, you had Trump saying one day it will disappear. It's like a miracle. I think that was yesterday was 1 year ago since that famous claim. But anyway, we have lost a lot. Let's just say that we've lost a lot of things, but we've seen our heroes. We've seen the enormity of the services that we are given. And there's been a bit of a spirit as well, I have to say, Charlie, as well, going across the last year. And now we can see the path ahead. Let's just say that. We can see the path ahead. This week on Wednesday, we've got the budget to look forward to. It's going to be very important. A lot of business people are going to watch this and find out what they're going to get out of this. And it's going to be very important. But never regarding that, this is, it's been a very weird and wild time in our country. And I have to say, it's been the weirdest thing I've ever gone through in my life. Let's just say that. I'm only 19, but goodness me. It has been, God knows, weird, Charlie.
It's been a roller coaster the last year, Zach, hasn't it? We lost Captain Tom Moore. We've lost several people. It's just, it's horrible. And I also have to say as well, to many of you, the budget on Wednesday is a chance for us to look ahead to the future with the economic recovery. Rishi Sunak will be addressing MPs on Wednesday in the House of Commons about what's going to be happening. I've read up some potential things that he could be doing, looking at potentially looking at taxes, maybe raising them. He mentioned about that he was on Andrew Marr the other day. There's an interview that you can watch on that. He also mentioned about potentially bringing back the ETAP to help out scheme. He defended that last year in the summer when he got asked the question, did it cause a spike in cases? I personally thought the ETAP to help out scheme was important for hospitality businesses like pubs, bars, restaurants, other businesses that need financial support. And I also have to say, Zach, as well, could Rishi be bringing a new scheme to help shops out in the future? Do you think that Rishi might have to do that?
So this is the first thing that I think has been announced, I believe, Charlie, is that there's going to be this special restart grant for lots of small businesses that are going to reopen once the restrictions are lifted. So in the hospitality sector, big businesses will get extra £18,000 grants to use so that they can use to restart their business up again. And some smaller businesses will get £6,000 as well to restart their business as well. So this is going to cost $5 billion in total. But this will be important. That's the one thing that's definitely been confirmed pre-budget. There's obviously, as you said, a lot of rumours going around what's going to happen with possibly corporation tax, Charlie. The rumours that it might go up from 19% to 25%. One to watch out there. Maybe we have an increase in stealth tax on those who then start paying additional taxes. That'd be one to watch as well. But this is going to be basically a pair of two things here, Charlie. One is to get the economic recovery done, and the second is to watch out for the road ahead for potential tax rises. Now, the OBR is now reporting that the recovery could be much faster thanks to the vaccines, which is great news to hear. But that's one area. So there's going to be a deficit, Charlie, that we're going to have to pay off eventually. And we just we don't know what it is. We may get a hint of how much, where we're going to go about this in the budget on Wednesday.
It's going to be interesting, Zach, because obviously the budget is an important one. Obviously, it was held last year and it was overshadowed by the coronavirus, Rishi Sunak's first budget as a chancellor. This year's one's going to be more about looking ahead to the future. And Zach, given obviously Matt Hancock hosting a news press briefing tonight at 5 o'clock on the news about the Brazilian variant, do you reckon that will impact the lockdown easing at all? Or do you think the government should be able to get their lockdown easing done on target?
I hope not. I don't think I don't think it will, unless the case rises start to magically go up. As I have a fly coming up in front of my camera, but there we go. Yeah, I don't think it'll affect you too much unless the cases start to go up and then the vaccines don't work. I think they do work; they're just not as good. But I don't think, as long as the cases don't up and then the hospitalizations don't go up, that as long as that doesn't affect too much things, and I don't think it will delay the timeline. I hope so. I don't think. I think looking on the optimistic side, I think this can be done. This timeline is possible. I'm not sure about stage 4, as I said in the past. I'm a bit doubtful about that. But I think it can be done. I think we just got to control the variants. We've got to do that surge testing. We've got to get that out. We've got to do that, I think. And if we can do that in an appropriate way where we can reduce the spread, then I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, so if you want to have a question about lockdown and the Brazil variant, please comment down below live on the Globetrotter Newscast. There's a comment section on the side there. I'm live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Any comments, please drop them below about what you think about the Brazilian variant of coronavirus. And do you think that it will impact the vaccine effectiveness? Let me know down in the comments. And obviously, Zach, as well, it's a big week for the government, isn't it? Because next week we have the start of the lockdown easing. Step 1 definitely looks like it's going to go ahead. Like March 28th, 9th, you've got obviously outdoor exercising being heavily prohibited, or being allowed to go ahead, should I say, with the reopening of that. I do think, Zach, despite the grim news I got from the media the other day on the Brazilian variant, I think the vaccine should still work. And that's a really encouraging thing, isn't it? I mean, it's a really... Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, as long as it's effective in some form, it could just be 60, 70% effective at the end of the day, but it still be effective, then as long as, it reduces, completely eradicates hospitalizations and deaths, then you would probably say it's an effective vaccine to use, Charlie, even with variants interfering with it.
And there's also 4 tests as well the government have to meet before easing the restrictions. And that I've just got the number, I've remember them off by heart if I can. So that is the vaccination program's going well. The vaccination program is having a reduction in hospitalizations and deaths. Another one as well is that they don't expect to see a massive surge in cases that threaten to overwhelm the NHS. And number 4, any new variants that could evade vaccines. I think, Zach, are they meeting all the targets at the moment?
They certainly are, I think. If you go by the latest figures, I certainly think they are at the moment, Charlie. We're definitely going ahead with the first part of stage 1, I think, next week.
Obviously, I think the second part of stage 1 will go ahead because obviously, as step that is going to be a limited freedom. Obviously, they are expanding stage 1 on the 29th of March. But yeah, it's basically step 2, no earlier. When they use the word no earlier, it means no earlier than that day. The government can, and Boris said last week that they can't rule out taking tougher action in local regional areas as well. And they could potentially include surge testing if new variants are detected.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, Charlie. Yeah, surge testing. I don't think it's going to be really, local restrictions at the end of the day that's going to drive this, Charlie. It's going to be surge testing and that, just to keep the virus down. This is the end of, I think we're at the end of, the tier system as we know it, and the local lockdowns as we know it. It's going to be surge testing as a way out, rather than, locking down one part of the country and keeping another part open. That's where we are. I think we'll be where we are, Charlie. Yeah,
I agree. So that is it for this week's edition of the Globetrotter Newscast. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoyed the live stream tonight here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter this evening. I really hope everyone's enjoyed it. Please comment down below if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them about the pandemic. You could also question about motorsport, about Donald Trump's appearance at CPAC, and many other questions as well on other things will be mentioned. So yes, all I can say is, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Globetrotter Newscast. And of course, Britain's lockdown easing starts next week as well, just to announce, with all schools in England reopening on March the 8th. And also as well, you can meet up with another person outside for recreational outdoors, which includes having a picnic in the park, and also and doing exercise as well. And also, one care home can have a nominated visitor as well, prior that they test negative for COVID-19. That is all the government restrictions. For more news on the coronavirus legislation, please go to gov.uk/coronavirus for all the latest news as well. And please take your vaccine. It's so important. And Zach, just before we go, any message for people taking vaccinations?
Take it very simply. And you'll enjoy it very much.
You will, absolutely. See you later, guys, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of the Globetrotter Newscast. Take care, everyone, and stay safe. Goodbye.